Thank you for listening to the show on Really Big Something Channel. May 7th, 2018.
The Cooner Report is powered by Kelly Financial Services. Cleaning up your financial bull. Get the peace of mind that you deserve at Kelly Financial Services.
He hit me. He's not a war hero. He's a war hero.
5.5 years.
He's a war hero because he was captured. I like people that weren't captured, okay? I hate to tell you.
Should President Trump attend John McCain's funeral? In an incredible story over the weekend, my friends, here is now the absolute latest. As you know, McManiac, John McCain, a rhino's rhino, if there ever was one, is now allegedly through his family, this is all coming from his family, is now preparing for his funeral. He's been diagnosed with severe brain cancer. He had surgery about a month ago. They say he is not doing very well, and they now are preparing for McCain's final days or final weeks. And so through his family, he has now been reaching out to people, asking them to attend his funeral. I kid you not. Joe Lieberman visited him just a couple days ago. Prominent Republicans, prominent Democrats have been going to his ranch in Arizona, believing now that this is the final end of John McCain's career and his life. And so McManiac has now requested who should attend his funeral and who should not attend his funeral, who should speak at his funeral and who should not speak at his funeral. He also has a memoir coming out. And in that memoir, in some of these released excerpts, he now claims, listen to this, that he regrets having Sarah Palin on the ticket in 2008. He calls it one of the biggest mistakes of his political career, saying that she was bad for the campaign, bad for the Republican Party, and bad for the country. And that his gut, according to him, told him to go with Joe Lieberman, a Democrat, a moderate Democrat, but nevertheless a Democrat. And his team around him urged him not to do so because Lieberman is pro-choice. He's pro-abortion. He believes in man-made global warming. He's pro-affirmative action. And they say that would have split the Republican base, and it would have given McManiac no chance to beat Obama in 2008 when he was the Republican presidential nominee. Yet McManiac says he should have overridden his advisors. He should have gone with his gut because Sarah Palin is a conservative. Sarah Palin is a cultural, social, anti-establishment conservative. And he says that has been extremely bad for the party, for the Republicans, and for the country. And he says if he could do it all over again, he never would have named Sarah Palin as his vice presidential nominee. Furthermore, he has now asked and will receive Barack Obama to be his eulogist, as well as George W. Bush. So the two eulogists who will be speaking at his funeral, which apparently is going to be held at the National Cathedral in Washington, will be two presidents, one Republican, one Democrat, the man that beat him, Barack Hussein Obama, and the man that beat him in the Republican primary in 2000, George W. Bush. However, he says the one president he does not want to see attend his funeral is President Donald Trump. He says that Trump is a cancer on the Republican Party, on the country, and essentially on the world. And according now to people close to him, they say he has never forgiven Trump for that clip that we just played, where he took a dig at McCain's status as a war hero. And so he has said that Trump is not invited. He does not want Trump at his own funeral, that instead he wants Vice President Mike Pence to appear in the administration's place. So let me make a few comments, and then I want to throw it open to you. 617-266-6868. I don't know. Maybe it's me. Maybe it's my upbringing. Maybe it's the way I am. and you may honestly disagree with me, but is it not strange, bizarre? Who the hell, if you're on your deathbed, is providing a list of who you want at your funeral and who you don't want at your funeral? I mean, honestly, I've never heard of this in my life. Now, I've buried a lot of people. Grace's dad, my former father-in-law, who I loved to death. I really loved him. Grace was there at his, on his deathbed in the hospital when he was passing away. Yes, he had some wonderful final words for Grace, but he wasn't, invite this guy, don't invite this guy, invite her, but not her. My mother, my best friend, my mother-in-law, I can't tell you how many people I've prepared funerals for. Never in my life do they say, no, Jeff, whatever you do, you make sure that person is not invited to my funeral. The vindictiveness, the nastiness, the hatred, frankly, the sheer kookiness of this. So you're providing, what is this, a wedding? Oh, really, what is this, a birthday party? You're providing a list of who you want to attend and who you don't want to attend. Who wants, who you want to speak and who you don't want to speak. Is it me, or is this incredibly bizarre and just incredibly nasty and petty? That to me is point number one. Point number two, and let's get to the heart of the matter. Point number two, this shows you who John McCain truly is, who McManiac truly is. He is the embodiment of the corrupt, venal, vile, out-of-touch Republican establishment. If you want a Beltway Republican to the core, if you want a globalist to the core, if you want a rhino to the core, it's McManiac. The only thing that was good about his 2008 campaign was Sarah Palin. The only thing that brought energy, momentum, enthusiasm, that injected some life and energy into that disgraceful campaign was Sarah Palin. For him to say doesn't want, it was a big mistake for him to have named her as VP. Are you kidding me? Like, really, are you kidding me? She almost won that election for him. Whatever he had going for him was because of Sarah Palin. Who got out the social conservatives? She did. Who got out the cultural conservatives? She did. Who got out some of the women and some of the independents for him? She did. He would have been slaughtered had it not been for Sarah Palin. And the fact that he would want a Democrat as his vice presidential nominee, that tells you everything you need to know about McManiac. Deep down, he's a Democrat in Republicans' clothing. He technically has an R beside his name. He's sort of like Arizona's Charlie Faker. He's technically a Republican, but all he's been doing is stabbing Republicans in the back, and especially conservatives. Pro-open borders, pro-amnesty, pro-free trade. This man never met a war he didn't like. Never met a war he didn't like. He said we had to be in Iraq for over 100 years. He wants to topple Iran. He wants to bomb Bashar Assad. He's actually talking about how he'd love a war with Russia. The man is a warmongering lunatic who was in bed with the military-industrial complex his entire career. He's the one, if you remember, cast the deciding vote saving Obamacare and voting against the repeal and replace of Obamacare. And he turned around in the well of the Senate, looking at the Democrats, laughing, smiling, almost like a maniac, and giving like the Roman emperor's salute of thumbs down. And he gives the thumbs down in the Senate, and the Democrats start cheering, bravo, bravo. If he was really honest, he's pretending that he's honest. He's pretending this is now on his deathbed and he wants to make everything right. If he was really honest, he would convert to a Democrat, because that's what he's been his entire career. Now, look, I'm going to tell you this, my friends. I'm going to be very candid with you, okay? I don't like to speak ill of the dead. When they pass away, I'm not a Democrat. I'm not a liberal. I don't spit on people's graves. So I don't know when the end is going to come for McCain, from his family. They're making it seem like it's going to be soon. So when he does pass away, I'm just going to acknowledge that he passed away, and I'm going to move on and cover other stories. Because to me, I don't believe in spitting on the dead. So when his time comes, and I don't know when that's going to be, I'm going to just acknowledge the story and then move on. But for the record, John McCain has done immeasurable damage to the Republican Party, to the conservative movement, and especially to the United States of America. And I think of all of his failures, and there are so many of them, the greatest of all was that coward campaign that he ran in 2008. The most cowardly campaign in recent memory. He could have gone after Obama on Bill Ayers, on Bernardine Dorn, on his ties to radical communists like Frank Marshall Davis, on his pastor, Reverend Jeremiah Wright. He could have gone after him on issue after issue, scandal after scandal, and instead he gave the explicit orders to his campaign, I will not go negative. And the very same media that is now lionizing him, now he's the great John McCain. He's the conscience of the Republican Party. He's the great Republican of our time. They spat on him during the 2008 campaign. They mocked him. They vilified him. They attacked him. They pounded him day after day after day after day. Now they love him because he's anti-Trump. Because he's anti-Tea Party. Because he's pro-deep state. Because he's pro-establishment. Because when you run down all of the issues, or the issues that matter to the globalists and to the Democrats, it's always McManiac and his girlfriend, lay down, love me, Lindsey Graham, that stand with the Democrats again and again. He's the one that refused to repeal Obamacare. He's the one that pushes for amnesty for all of these illegals. He's the one that supports open borders. He's the one that gave Barack Obama the cover that he needed when he waged illegal war after illegal war. He's the one that wants to flood this country with Muslim migrants. I could go on, my friends. I could go on. That's the kind of man John McCain is. He lived off to that hype of being a POW for 5.5 years. He rode that into Congress, he rode that into the Senate, and he almost rode it into the White House. And along the way, he destroyed anybody who stood against him, especially conservatives. And now, on his deathbed, in his final act of spite, in his final act of sheer malicious hatred and malice, he now takes one last swipe at Trump, almost from the grave. Almost as they're putting him into the grave. There he is, trying to punch Trump in the face one more time, trying to get that last profile piece, a glowing piece written for him in the Washington Post, or the New York Times, or the Boston Globe, which has a columnist every 2 or 3 weeks writing about the great John McCain. Well, if he was so great, why don't you guys support him in 2008? He's like a typical rhino. He loves the attention and the adoration of the Democratic media, and then when they kick him in the teeth, he comes back wanting more. And now he does this as his final act. I am disgusted beyond belief. I've known many people who've died. I've buried many people. You know what all of them do on their deathbed? They forgive everybody, including their enemies. In fact, what is so heart-wrenching about funerals and so emotional about funerals is that longtime adversaries and enemies will show up at the funeral. and in their own mind ask for forgiveness from the person that they believe they've offended. Or ask themselves, was it worth feuding with this person all of those years? That's why I know I've done many funerals. Whoever wants to come should come. For him to explicitly call for Trump not to be invited, it's the last act of the Never Trump resistance movement that John McCain has been a part of for the last year and a half, 2 years. And it shows you exactly the kind of man and the character that John McCain is. He is rotten and nasty and malicious to the core. He's not America's hero. He's America's shame. And as far as President Trump is concerned, you know my answer would be, Johnny, you don't want me at your funeral? That's fine. I'll respect your wishes. Because there's only one person that really needs to attend at someone's funeral, and that's you. It's your funeral, Johnny. The only one that needs to be there is you. So you don't want me to come? I won't come. 617-266-6868, and good riddance. May God have mercy on your soul. Should Trump go to McCain's funeral? If McCain says he doesn't want him there, and what do you make of McCain saying he doesn't want Trump to attend his funeral? Is that an act of political courage, as the left is saying, the last act of anti-Trump resistance? Or is it shallow, petty, and malicious? 617-266-6868. McCain, should Trump go or not go to his funeral? Your calls next. 125 here on the great WRKO. Okay, in a stunning development, John McCain, who apparently now is extremely ill, at his ranch in Arizona. He's now, a lot of people are flying down to say their final words to him, has told his family to make it known that he does not want President Trump to attend his funeral. Obama and George W. Bush, the two previous presidents, they will be delivering the eulogy. They will be the eulogists. He's asked for them, and they've both said yes. He wants Mike Pence to stand in Trump's place. Furthermore, in his memoirs, he throws Sarah Palin under the bus, saying the biggest mistake of his 2008 campaign was that he picked Sarah Palin to be his VP nominee. He said it was the worst mistake, or one of the worst mistakes of his entire political career. He should have picked Connecticut Democrat Joe Lieberman. What do you make of McCain essentially orchestrating his own funeral and personally disinviting Trump and throwing Sarah Palin under the bus, blaming her for his defeat in 2008? 617-266-6868. You can also text us, WRKO, so we know it's for us, whatever your message is, to 70470. 7470. This is from 339. Jeff, the Trump disinvite is spiteful for sure, but I think that throwing Sarah Palin under the bus now is disgraceful and insulting to her. I hope she doesn't attend McManiac's funeral. I wouldn't attend either if I were her. I mean, the way he's just publicly, slapped you in the face like this, if I were her, I wouldn't attend. No, you don't want to know what this is? I'll tell you what this is. He resents Sarah Palin because she was a much better candidate than he was. So she outshone him in 2008. And number two, deep down, he's a jealous, petty, vindictive man. He's jealous that he couldn't beat Obama and he's not president, but Donald Trump is. Trump won, he lost, and it's eating him up right onto the grave. That's how much it's eating him up. This is from 603. Jeff, you are so far off base on this. I wouldn't want someone at my funeral if they said the things about me that Trump said. Skippy in Southie, you're up next. Go ahead, Skippy.
Hi, Chip. How are you, sir?
Hi.
Sir, I got three short points here. When I was a kid, my old man used to say, if you can't say something good about so-and-so is dead, then say nothing. Well, my response was, so-and-so is dead, good. But between John McCain and Sarah Palin, she was the only one who had a pair of Mugolines in that campaign. And as far as Trump, he should, the day of that funeral, he should run a gigantic, gathering, a rally, a cookout for true Republicans, conservatives. And they all should dance around a bonfire in honor of McCain, singing "Ding Dong, the Rhino's Dead."
Skippy, I'm just curious. What do you say to the argument, and I'm getting a lot of texts on this, and, people that usually agree with me. So I know it comes from the heart when they text this in, saying, well, look, he really insulted McCain about his POW status, that he wasn't a true hero, a true war hero. You go through 5.5 years of hell the way McCain did, and Trump calls you out and insults you the way he did during the campaign trail, that McCain is justified not to want him at his funeral. What do you say to that argument, Skippy?
Well, Jeff, if you remember, what Trump did by saying that, he was angry. It was in response to a personal attack that McCain had made on him. He didn't just blurt that out. McCain had been talking bad about wanting to, I'll never back this guy. So Trump hit him with a couple of belts below the belts. But it wasn't like he just blurted it out. It was in response to a personal attack that McCain did on him.
Skippy, thank you very much for that call. You know what I'm going to do? I want to replay that famous cut. Okay, and so I'm going to replay that famous cut, and then you tell me if you think McManiac is right to disinvite the President of the United States. 617-266-6868. News break, and then after the news break, we'll definitely take your calls. President Trump is going after John Kerry over the Iran deal and his so-called shadow diplomacy. Evan Heidenrich is in the WRKO newsroom with all of those details. Evan, what did the president say?
Thank you for listening to the show on Really Big Something Channel.
136 here on the great WRKO. Okay, my friends, so major development. McCain's family says that John McCain, McManiac, is extremely ill from the brain cancer, the surgery of a couple months ago. They don't think he's got much time left, and they're now already making arrangements for his funeral. McCain has come out with a memoir saying that he regrets having put Sarah Palin on the ticket. It was one of the biggest mistakes of his entire political career. He says she was horrible for the ticket, horrible for him, horrible for the campaign, horrible for the Republican Party, horrible for America. And he wishes that he had nominated Joe Lieberman instead, a Democrat. He then has made his wishes known that he does not want President Trump to attend his funeral and wants Mike Pence to attend in his place instead. So, and a lot of it, his family says, stems from Trump's comments during the campaign trail where he questioned his war hero status as a POW. So, remember the context. McCain had called all of his supporters, quote unquote, crazy, and said that Trump had no business running for the presidency and that he was unfit to be president. Trump, who had raised millions of dollars for McCain's campaign in 2008, felt completely betrayed, felt his supporters were under siege, under attack by McManiac, and so he said this. Roll it, Brittany.
John McCain goes, oh boy, Trump makes my life difficult. He had 15,000 crazies show up. Crazies. He called them all crazy. I said, they weren't crazy. They were great Americans. These people, if you would have seen these people, I know what crazy is. I know all about crazies. These weren't crazy. So he insulted me, and he insulted everybody in that room. And I said, somebody should run against John McCain, who has been, in my opinion, not so hot. And I supported him. I supported him for president. I raised $1 million for him. It's a lot of money. I supported him. He lost. He let us down. But, he lost. So I never liked him as much after that, because I don't like losers. But Frank, let me get to it. He hit me. He's not a war hero. He's a war hero. 5.5 years. He's a war hero because he was captured. I like people that weren't captured, okay? I hate to tell you. Do you agree with that? He's a war hero because he was captured, okay? You can have, and I believe perhaps he's a war hero, but right now he said some very bad things about a lot of people.
In other words, you hit me, you hit my supporters, you vilify my supporters, you're doing everything possible to decapitate me, politically take me out. I raised a ton of cash for you, by the way, in 2008. So if I'm such a hateful person and I'm such a crazy, or my supporters are such crazies, how come you took my money, Johnny? And now you're in bed with the establishment to try to derail me and destroy me? Well, you know what? You hit under the belt, I'll hit you under the belt. You know? All right, you're not a war hero. Blank you. And so, because of this, McManiac says he does not want Trump at his funeral. Let me read to you a few more texts. You can text us at WRKO, whatever your message is, 7470, 70470. This is from 781. Jeff, a good Christian would go, so Sarah Palin should go, but not Trump. Trump should respect McCain's wishes and not go. Plus, this whole thing, I bet, is based on his brain cancer, not right in the head. 508, Jeff, it is his funeral. Good luck meeting your maker. So to me, this is vindictive, petty, jealous, frankly malicious, nasty, personally, on McCain's part. But we can disagree. Let me throw another log on the fire. Let me ask another question. I think this texter makes up a good point. I mean, it is McCain's funeral after all. Right? I mean, it's his funeral, so he can invite or disinvite anybody that he wants. So, what would you do if you were Trump? Would you go, not go? And what do you make of McCain disinviting Trump and dissing Sarah Palin, basically as he's got one foot in the grave? 617-266-6868. Has McCain gone up? Or has he gone down, in your view? I want to hear from you. Lines are loaded. Mike on the Cape. Go ahead, Mike.
Hey, Jeff. How are you?
I'm good. How are you, Mike?
Good. I called, I got connected a little before the last hour. I wanted to talk about Bolton, Kerry, but I'll get back to that. As far as McCain goes, he is just an arrogant, cold, calculating swamp creature, in my opinion. He fits right into that mold. And as far as his comments about Trump, it's almost like Hillary's deplorables, if he's calling us names, just in Trump names. And as far as Trump going, I think it's great. It's like, you never want to go to, sometimes you don't want to go to a party, and you're like, oh, I got to go to the party. And then something happens, like somebody gets sick or something, and you say, oh, can't go. It works out. So, Trump can skip the funeral, go play some golf, relax, take it easy. That's my opinion. As far as
go ahead, Mike, quickly. Go ahead on John Kerry. Go ahead.
Yeah, John Bolton. I call him Bolton because he could play Frankenstein without makeup. Anyway, he to me, you may not know this, but right after Trump was elected, he met with Abbas and the Palestinians, and he told them, don't worry, Trump's going to be out of there within a year, and we'll deal. And he said, just give him a hard time. Don't agree to anything that he comes up with. So, he's a scoundrel. He's always been a scoundrel.
Interesting. Thank you very much for that call, Mike. No, Mike, look, I agree with you. I think in some ways, McManiac has done Trump a favor. I do. I honestly think McCain, I don't think Trump wanted to go to his funeral. And now he's giving him a way out. He's like, well, okay. Because, if, when McCain does pass away, and from the way his family is speaking, could be very soon, everybody's going to be mourning. It's going to be wall-to-wall coverage on cable, front page on every newspaper. Everybody's going to be talking about it. Obama will be speaking. George Bush will be delivering a eulogy as well. Everybody will be there. So, the president of the United States has to make an appearance. He has to. Well, now Trump can say, hey, look, I'm just respecting the deceased's wishes. Deceased doesn't want me there, so he doesn't want me there. I'm not going to be there. So it's almost like he's giving Trump a convenient way out. Now, look, to me, honestly, I think McCain comes across in this as an angry, bitter, vindictive old man. I don't think it does him or his cause it does him no good to be this petty with the president of the United States, personally. Now, I know the mainstream media loves it. I know the Republican establishment, the rhinos, are yucking it up. I know CNN, MSNBC, they love this. It's the final middle finger to President Trump. But If that's your legacy, if that's what you want it to be, go ahead. I mean, I don't know what else to tell you. 617-266-6868. Anthony in Michigan. You're up next. Go ahead, Anthony.
Dr. Cooner, it is a blessing always. Listen, I'm going to start this off something a little different. I want to thank John McCain because right now we have the Palin administration without the miniskirt. We really do, because he picked Sarah on his ticket. She eventually showed us what the swamp revealed, how they tried to destroy her between Soros and Romney and Schmidt between 2008 and 2009. And then came Santelli, which was the spark of the Tea Party. She was there throughout the entire Tea Party. The Tea Party morphed into Trumpism. I would give $1 million to find out what they really talked about at the pizza meeting between her and Donald Trump. Do you remember that?
Yes.
Now, I want to read you something real quick from her book, page 403. Michigan is a good example of why we must stand up and not give up. We must fight for reform and fight to reclaim the places suffering under the weight of decades of failed government policy. The very policy that threatens to overtake us all. We abandon Michigan and places like it. We're Americans. We don't give up on each other. It has got to be, sadly, a moment of schadenfreude for him, Dr. Cooner. Had he listened to her, he would still be president right now.
Bingo.
No, he would be finishing his 8 years.
Bingo. You're completely right. Anthony, you're completely right. Palinism is a form of Trumpism, okay? Which is really a form of conservative populism, okay, at its core. And she was the one that said, McCain gave up on Michigan. McCain wrote off Michigan. He wrote off Wisconsin. He wrote off much of the Rust Belt. He wrote off like many of these Republicans. And Palin was saying, what are you doing? These are our people. These are our natural voters. But open borders and amnesty and free trade are killing the heartland. So the only one that really spoke for the Republican base was Sarah Palin. I mean, it just shows you how disconnected from reality this guy is and what his true nature always was. You see, in Arizona, he pretended to be a conservative to get elected. But in Washington, he voted like a good rhino, like a good globalist, like a good Democrat. Now he's openly saying it. I didn't want Palin. You want to know the truth? I never wanted her. I wanted a Democrat. I wanted Lieberman. So if he's going to be really honest, say, look, you know what? I'm changing party at the last moment. Okay? I really am a Democrat because I've always been a Democrat. That's John McCain in a nutshell. Look, everyone keeps telling me what a great guy he is. I'll be honest with you. I look at the SNL scandal of the late 80s, early 90s, the corruption, the greed that he was involved in, the theft. I don't know how he didn't end up in jail for that. And then I look at the rest of his entire career. John McCain sold this country down the river. John McCain was always about one thing, John McCain. And the rest of America could go fly a kite. 617-266-6868. Paul on the South Shore. You're up next. Go ahead, Paul.
Hi, Jeff.
Hi.
Thanks for your comments on McCain. Look at Duke Cunningham, a true war hero. He went to jail for the same thing that John McCain should have gone to jail for, the savings and loans scandals.
Yes.
But as far as the debate, when President Trump made his comment about that McCain made his comment about Trump, and then Trump retaliated and made his comment, believe me, those words showed most of us that when it came to push to shove, that we're going to get a leader in Donald Trump that can take on all comers that are out to do harm to the United States. So I think it was a very highlighted moment to show the kind of courage that Donald Trump possessed then and does now.
Paul, I agree with you. I agree with you completely. Thank you for that call. What McCain was trying to do was bully him. You see, McCain saw the writing on the wall. And he said, this Trump train is starting to run away. And he's coming right after the establishment. And that's when he went all in with the Never Trump resistance. Okay, by the way, that's when the media began to love McManiac. That's when they started writing those puff pieces again. And so what he was doing was he was trying to bully Trump. He was a bully. And he called all of his supporters a bunch of crazies. And normally in the past, people back away. Oh, he's the war hero. He's a veteran. 5.5 years in a prisoner of war camp. What John McCain says is gospel. Unless he's running against Barack Hussein Obama. Then they trashed him. But let that go. And what Trump showed was, no, I'm not going to be bullied. I'm not going to be coward. I'm not going to be silenced. I don't care who you throw at me. And, you know, because everybody was piling on, I don't care. He's a creature of the swamp, and I'm going to call him out. And I'm going to show you, you hit me, I'm going to hit you twice as hard. I'm going to give you a war. And that's when people began to realize Trump is the real deal. This guy's not afraid of anyone or nobody. He'll take them all on. And he did. And that's why he won. 155 here on the great WRKO. Tune in for the WRKO box office cue to call Thursday on the 30s at 8:30, 2:30, and 5:30 for your chance to win a pair of tickets to see Dead & Company Wednesday, May 30th at 7 p.m. at the Xfinity Center. For tickets and information, visit livenation.com. Keith on the South Shore. Thanks for holding, Keith, and welcome.
Jeff,
hi.
I'm a veteran, and when McCain was shot down, I was serving in the Army in Korea. He was a war hero. When he graduated from the Naval Academy, he chose to go into the fighter wing on the aircraft carrier. He could have taken a much softer route and not put himself in the danger. And as I think you know that his father was the admiral,
yes,
4 stars, that was in charge of the Pacific when he was shot down. And the North Vietnamese treated him horribly with his broken shoulders the whole time he was a prisoner because of who his father was and his grandfather, another war hero. And I just think that Trump was way out of line when he said, that he wasn't a war hero because he was a prisoner of war. As a veteran, and I voted for Trump, and I want him to do well, but he was way out of line in my book when he did that to McCain. Like anybody, McCain wasn't a perfect human being, but he was definitely a war hero, and he sacrificed an awful lot for this country.
Keith,
thank you.
Thank you, Keith. Keith, are you still on, or are you still there?
No, I'm still here.
Okay. Keith, before we get cut off, number one, I really want to thank you for your service. I love you guys. Okay, I love you guys. Keith, I want to ask you this. I've known people, very bitter divorces. I mean, the things that are said or done to one another, just vicious. Yet when they pass away, I've never heard of, now it may happen. I'm just saying I've never heard of it. Oh, I don't want my ex-wife or I don't want my ex-husband to attend the funeral. Generally, funerals are a time of forgiveness, reconciliation, remembrance, recollection. It's usually not a time to settle scores. So I'm just curious, how do you feel about McCain disinviting Trump to his own funeral?
Well, there's certainly, the bad blood. And I agree with you about the forgiveness at a funeral. But I just think that Trump took it to such a level. And I don't know, somebody with brain cancer like McCain has now, how that affects his judgment. He's certainly not the person he was last year. And I don't fault him for that. And I really think that, Trump avoided the draft. He had the money, the resources not to go. I chose to go because I wanted to go into law enforcement, and it certainly helped me that whole time that I did my 40-year career with that. But I just saw John McCain as a hero, and I always used to like to say, when I was in Korea, his father was my commanding officer, but he was the commanding officer of everybody in the Pacific, Vietnam and everything else, Korea and Hawaii, and he went to live in hell because of his father.
Keith, thank you very much. And again, thank you for your service. Okay, Rich, I've got 1 minute. The floor is yours. Go.
Thanks for having me, Jeff.
Go ahead, Rich.
I think it's real sad that he threw Sarah Palin under the bus like that. And as far as I've been to people's wakes and funerals that I didn't particularly care for because I gave them the last respects that they deserved. That's my opinion on that. As far as John Kerry goes, if nobody else will say it, I'll say it. He's a gold-digging clown.
Thank you for that call, Rich. Okay, coming up next, you want to see how out of control illegal immigration is in Massachusetts? A federal judge in Boston marries 2 illegals so they can escape deportation. That unbelievable story next.
The voice of Boston is you. 680 WRKO Boston, 100.7 WCLX HD2 Boston, an iHeart radio station.